Hey, hope you're having a great day. Just thought I'd do this video on a few different topics that I've been thinking about recently, and I hope you take value from this video and the things that I touch base on. So in this first topic, I'm going to be talking about the power of our words, the power of our words, our actions, and how they're perceived by other people, and the power of our words and how they can influence how people think about us and how we can, cause, kind of gravitational kind of shifts through, the words that we put out there. And you see a lot of that on social media. And I think, especially this moment in time right now, there's never been such a big kind of, what's the right word to use, like magnifying glass on, how you can say something and how it gets perceived and how, the impact of you putting out a post or a video or the language that you use and the things that you say and the impact of that. And, it's something that I've learned a lot through podcasting, how I present myself, the words that I use, the things that I say, and the things that I talk about. Because I could probably talk about a subject and have my opinion on it, and then it could then cause a domino effect, because someone else out there in the universe may disagree, may agree, and if you start something and that person then disputes with this person, that can happen, and we see that all the time on social media and the internet. That's why you have to be very, very careful, because your words can have so much influence on how someone thinks. And through podcasting and the videos that I do, I talk about personal development, my opinion on things and things like that, but I'm very open and I'm just kind of free flowing in what I think, and it's my opinion. It's my opinion on things. I'm not saying this is how you should think or this is how you should be. I'm just giving you a lowdown on what's going on in my head, my beliefs, and my energy, and my past experience and things like that, in the way that I think. So I'm very mindful of that in my approach, and I think it's very powerful, because I think a lot of the times we're not really told how to communicate in a modern day world like now, especially with the internet. It's not something that was taught to us in school. Yes, we taught how to read and write, but how to communicate ourselves as a human being in the 21st century with the internet and social media, that's something that you have to find out yourself, and how to govern yourself in that place, in that network. So yeah, you have to, it's a bit like the sea. You have to respect, the sea. You have to kind of know what you're getting into. You won't just dive into an ocean if you don't know how to swim. So you need to kind of be aware of the boundaries, I think, in life and social media, and as a person, because everyone has brothers, sisters, family, friends, or there might be a colleague or a sales assistant manager, boss, CEO. And, the words that you use and how you present yourself and, your actions all influence, how people think of you and what people assume of you as a person. And, a lot of the time people see the tip of the iceberg, and there's much more going on beneath that. But ultimately, people see the tip of the iceberg. And, if you're using certain language and the words that you say and so on, it goes out there into the universe, and that's what people see. And, we have a lot of influence, and we need to be mindful behind our content and the microphone of what we're putting out there. Think about it. Be careful if you're posting something, because it might, trigger something in someone else. And, everyone's got their own right to have their own opinion, and I welcome that, but you've got to be aware of that, and you've got to just be careful of that. That's my opinion. The words that we say to ourselves. So I think, the words that we say to ourselves is heavily, heavily important, in my opinion. I think, how you communicate with yourself is ultimately how you're going to then communicate with other people. if you have a good relationship with yourself and you know yourself, you're then going to be able to relate and connect to other people. And I think, you know, like we're all constantly learning, and a lot of us don't know ourselves, and we're just finding our own way, you know, as we go along day by day. And I think, you know, COVID has definitely forced a lot of us to do that. I think, you know, people got more time now by themselves. You know, if you live by yourself, you definitely got a lot more time by yourself. There's, you know, if you're not working, if you're unemployed, or you know, you do have more time. You know, with this whole situation, you got more time to reflect. And I think, you know, a lot of kind of, excuse my French, but shit, you know, may surface because, you know, we're forced to look at ourselves. You know, if we're not happy, you know, if is our job not working out, is our health not okay, or you know, what is it that we need to do? There's this, you know, kind of clash with ourselves. And I think, you know, that everyone's kind of experienced the situation, you know, very, very differently. You know, some people had it pretty much the same, but ultimately, you know, the words that we say to ourselves are powerful, they're important. And I think as a person, we need to get to know ourselves, you know, not straight away, because it's a word like that. It's a process. Life is a process. And, you know, just be kind to yourself and be mindful of the words that you say to yourself, because, you know, that ultimately has an effect on how you interact with other people. The relationship that we have with ourselves and others, that's kind of what I touched base on. Being yourself and letting go of fear of other people's opinions. So I think, you know, everyone's got their own opinion. You know, that's life. Everyone's got their own mindset and their own beliefs. And we need to respect that. But I think, you know, you can't not, I don't think you should not do something because you're worried about what someone else thinks. Because what does that matter in the long run? You know, like, think of me, you know, for example, doing the podcast. If, you know, I worried about my podcast for a couple of years and I didn't do it because I was worried about what people might think. And you know, I'm so grateful for the connections that I made and the opportunities that have arisen from the podcast and me doing this. And, you know, I've made so many great friends and connections, you know, who, you know, I connect with so deeply and, you know, want to always be in touch with, and hopefully in the future can actually meet in person. And if I hadn't have done the podcast, if I hadn't been doing things like this and just putting myself out there, taking that leap of faith, being vulnerable, getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, you know, these things wouldn't happen. So you've ultimately just got to take that action, take little steps. You don't need to dive straight into something. Start with small steps, you know, just whatever that is. If you wanted to put content out there, if you wanted to put videos out there, you know, perhaps take photographs and then put a quotation or something, or do a small 20-second clip. If you want to do videos like this, which could probably go on for 10 minutes or 8 minutes, start with 20-second clips or a minute clips, you know, and then build on that, compound on that, and it just becomes easier the more that you do it. I think, you know, that fear doesn't ever go away. You know, at times there might be that little bit of doubt, there might be that little bit of hesitation, you know, that little bit of fear. Even now when I have guests on, sometimes, you know, I feel a bit nervous, but it's how you use that energy and channel it into the thing that you're doing and let it propel you and drive you. You know, it's driving that energy, not letting it kind of overwhelm you to the point where you stop and freeze. And that's with anything in life. I mean, you know, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to change job, career? Do you want to start a business? Do you want to start something? Do you want to learn how to drive? You know, what is it that you want? And why aren't you doing the things that you want to be doing? You know, perhaps opinions of other people, friends, family. There's always a way around everything. I know people got kids and have a mortgage and things like this. There's a lot of things that constrict your time in doing whatever it is that you want to do. But, you know, you can still do it, you know, just bit by bit. And I think the more that you let go of what people think and the fear, and the more that you do it, the easier it gets. And I think, like, if something doesn't scare you in life, then I don't think, I think if something scares you and it throws fear at you, then that's how you're going to grow. And I think if there's no uncomfortableness, no fear, then you're not going to grow. But, I think everyone's different. Everyone's got their own interests and things like that, of how they want to live their life, and that's absolutely fine. But I just think, we should just let go of fear and the overall kind of worry of how we're perceived by society and other people. I mean, that's ultimately, how the world works a lot of the time. We look at what XYZ person is doing, excuse me, and what they have, and compare it to our lives, especially on social media. I'm not knocking social media. It's a tool, and it depends how you perceive it and how you use it. But sometimes we can look at, we might see a nice picture of something and think, oh, that's not what we've got, or whatever. And, we sometimes compare ourselves to what people have got, what people say in society. These, and how we grow up as a person, we take on these life scripts of, who we are, why we are. And there's so many, it's like layers of an onion. There's so many layers to us as a person. We're not just, what you see right now. There's so many layers within us as to why we think what we think, why we feel what we feel, and why we do what we do. Ultimately, our behaviors. This is why, I find people fascinating, because it makes you wonder, how did that person get to that place? Why is that person doing what they're doing? And I think we're all different. We've all got our own personalities. We've all got our own ways of being. We've got our own mindset. Yeah. So, I mean, it's powerful. It's powerful when you think about it. And I heard a quote today by Joey Diaz on a podcast, and he said, it's not about where you start, it's about where you finish. And I think I really like that, because it's like, no matter what you're doing and, where you start, you could start out here doing X, Y, Z. It's about where that takes you, and where in that process and those events in life and where you end up. Because you see a lot of successful people out there who, started at rock bottom, and they've had, trials and tribulations in their life. But, that all of that experience in between, that space in between, is, gravitated them to where they are now. And I think a lot of people don't always see this, with the starting, the difficult times, the videos where, people are starting out. People don't always see that. They see the flashy cars and then the likes and, where people are, they see the success. They don't always see the failures. And I think the failures should be spoken about more, and people should talk about failure more and mistakes, because it's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to, they're lessons at the end of the day. They're life lessons, and it's feedback. And you can gain so much from failures. You can gain so much from mistakes. And I think, the more mistakes and failures that you have, the more resilience that you gain as a person, for if they happen again. You can deal with it much better. You bounce back quicker. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you take some value from it, and stay tuned for more episodes in the podcast coming soon. I've got some really big guests coming up soon this year. Stay tuned for the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, all the platforms. If you want to be a guest on my podcast, please direct message me on my Instagram, or email me at theparrsitivitypodcast@gmail.com. Or any questions or feedback, let me know. I really, really appreciate it. It all helps in the process. And have a great day. Hope you enjoy this, and have a great week ahead.